All right, welcome everybody to the NFL Presidential Address. It is week one, and it is a privilege to do this again every single week for you guys. I just want to start by telling you how this is going to go down. So every week, myself and Meghan Payton will be doing this show. Meghan will be providing 3 prop bets. I myself will go down every single game on the board, top to bottom. I will give sides and totals. I will pass a bunch of games too if I don't have any thoughts. At the end of the show, I will give out 3 best bets and a teaser. I will also discuss Survivor as well. So basically, we go down the board, top to bottom on every single game. When I'm done that, Meghan Payton will come in, provide you guys with 3 prop bets, and then I will be back on to provide you with the best bets for the show and the teasers. To remind you, last year, our record was 134 wins, 101 losses. That's on this show across all the different games. That is a 57% average, and I am very proud of that. Our show best bets last year were 35 wins and 18 losses. That's 66%. That is insane. I hope to be able to provide you with such incredible winning information this year. And my show teasers last year were 8 and 3. So I had an incredible year last year. As for my clients had a plus 25% positive season last year in the NFL. We absolutely destroyed the NFL last year, and I hope to do it again this year. Before we get into it, I want to tell you guys, if you buy my weekly NFL package, then basically you are going to get a more in-depth version of this show. You will get every single game from top to bottom, a paragraph or 2 on every game, a side, a total, a pass, whatever I'm going to be doing during that game. It is all provided to my clients. All the plays are rated. You will get my actual client plays. This week we have 6 client plays up. So guys, please, if you like what I'm doing on here, spend the money every week, buy my NFL report on a weekly basis, and you will get access to all of this info plus a whole lot more. There is a promotion going on right now this week. It does expire on Sunday. And that promotion is the Odd Couple promotion. You buy a 3-day all access from me. You get a 3-day all access from Teddy on the house. So that's buy one, get the other for free. No coupon code required. Head over to WagerTalk.com. Check Teddy's page or my page. You will see the promotion. It is an exceptional promotion. $59 for a 3-day all access for both Teddy and myself. Teddy is 5-0 to start college football this year. I am 2-3, which means the wins are coming this week. And in baseball, Teddy is up big profit. I'm up big profit. In NFL, Teddy is 21-5 in his last 26 bets on week 1. I killed it last year, week 1 as well. So that is a must-purchase package, the Odd Couple promo. Okay, let's one last piece of business. This show will be a lot longer than most shows that we do this year. I'm going to try keep the presidential address down to a half an hour, but given that this is week 1, I want to also discuss what I think of the teams individually, how I'm looking to bet the teams as well. So this is going to be a longer show than normal. Stay with us all the way through to the end, please, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, let's get into it. Well, Thursday night, we got Buffalo minus 2.5 against the Super Bowl champ LA Rams. The line in this game is 52. Rams last year, 12-5 win-loss record, 8-9 ATS. The Bills were 11-6. They were 9-6-2 ATS. So they made a lot of money for their clients last year. Let me start by telling you that I absolutely love this Buffalo Bills team. First off, I'm betting them to win the division. I understand they're minus 250. I think they should be minus 400. I think they are light years better than the Patriots, Jets, and Finns, and they should absolutely run away with this division. Oh, my God, this Buffalo team, guys. Diggs, Davis, McKenzie at wide receiver, Knox at tight end, Singletary in the running game, Josh Allen at QB. This is going to be one damn impressive offense. And their passing attack, whoo, Kate Upton hot. Anyway, Buffalo, third highest team in points last year. They averaged 28.5 points per game. They were ninth in passing. And I don't know if you guys realize this. They were fifth in rushing. Everybody talks about that passing game, but this team ran all over the league as well. They have no weakness on offense whatsoever. On defense, this was the best team in football last year. Literally the number one team in football. They allowed only 17 points per game, and now they've added Von Miller to the mix. I understand that White isn't playing this week. I understand that they lost Lawson. It doesn't matter. Their defense is going to be spectacular this year again. I just love every part of this team. Bottom line, they're the most well-rounded team in football, every aspect of the game, and I think this team will blow out bad teams and cover 6 or less on good teams. As for the Rams, what can you say about this team? They are the Super Bowl champs and are bringing back almost everybody for another run. I don't think this team will win it all again. I do think they will take a step back, but they still have Stafford, Kupp, Higbee, Akers, Donald, now Wagner's on D. Last year, this team had the 7th best offense in football. They averaged 27.1 points per game, but their defense was mediocre, allowing teams to put over 21 points up per game. They were only the 15th best team in the league defensively. Bottom line, I think we see this team regress on both fronts, averaging less points a game and allowing more. I see myself looking to take overs in the Rams game and will look to play them after a loss. I think they win their division, but will likely not win 12 games like they did last year. As for this game, folks, with all that said, I'm passing on this game. If I had to bet this game, I would take over the total, but I don't have to bet it. We got 2 good Ds. The offense is in their first game. They might be slightly out of sync, and there's no way I'm betting the home Super Bowl champs as a dog, and there's no way I'm betting Buffalo as a favorite in LA. So this game is an outright pass. Next game we look at, Baltimore -7 versus the New York Jets. 44.5 is the total. Just to point out, last year the Jets were a terrible money-making team, 6-11 ATS. The Ravens 8-9 ATS. Let's start with Baltimore, guys, and let's mention that you could basically take all of last year's numbers and throw them out the window. I mean, this was the most injured team in all of football. But why almost all their numbers? Because even without half their players, this team was still a few 4th and goals from a winning record and a playoff spot. They are loaded at running back. Dobbins, Davis, Drake. This team is going to run all over the league, and especially with Lamar as a running quarterback as well. But they are not as good as everybody says. Their passing game is a mess. They have 3 unproven wide receivers. They have a QB that can't play consistently from down to down. They do have one of the best tight ends in the league. But other than the tight end and their running backs, that's about it. Their D, they were nowhere as good as people think. They were the 19th best in keeping points off the board. 19th best. And they were the single worst team in all of football stopping the pass. They did, however, have a great run D. Bottom line, a lot is expected from this Ravens team this year, and many pundits have them winning the division. As for me, I do not believe in this team. Simply put, I can't bet a team with Lamar at QB, but I can't bet against them either. One game he is all world, and the next he can't find a wide receiver. One play he scrambles and makes a beautiful 30-yard pass, and the next play he underthrows his wide receiver by 10 yards. I do expect them to be around 9-8, 10-7 on the year, and I do think they will fight for a wild card spot. Look, they're odds-on favorite to win the division, and I can see that happening. I'm just not willing to make that bet. I still think Cincinnati is a better team than them on paper. I am looking to play the unders in their games, as I think they're going to run 4 out of every 7 plays, and their pass D will be better this year, and they're going to be tough to run against. As for the Jets, oh God, this team just can't get out of their own way. Last year, this was the worst defensive team in all of football by far. They allowed over 30 points per game. They rolled out the 3rd worst pass D in football and the 4th worst run D. This team has as much D as a bunch of horny men standing in front of Scarlett Johansson. 0. She can basically do whatever she wants with any one of them. Okay, to be fair, they are rolling out a new D with a ton of new players, but come on, none of these are big signings. None of them are proven. I don't expect them to be much better than they were last year. Last year, their offense, 5th worst in the league in points scored, 6th worst running team in the league, 20th worst passing team in the league. Did they upgrade this offense? Well, not really. I mean, sure, they signed more wide receivers and upgraded their O-line, but they still are led by Zach Wilson, and their biggest name player on offense is Corey Davis. Bottom line, I will be looking to play the Jets to the over all year. I do think they will be more feisty than they were last year, not get blown out as much, but how can you take this Jets team against anyone unless you're getting more than a touchdown? This team is far away from being decent, far away. The only good news for them is at least they're in the AFC East. As for this game, I'm looking to take overs in Jets games all year. I'm looking to take unders in Ravens games all year. However, given how bad the Jet D is, and especially against stopping the run, which is Baltimore's strength, the only way I could see this game play out is to take the over. As for the side, I don't believe in the Ravens hype. I will not lay 7 or more with them on the road against anyone. My lean, take over the total of 44.5, pass on the side. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints versus Atlanta. New Orleans is minus 5.5. The total in this game, 42.5. The Saints, man, I got to tell you guys, I really like the Saints team, and I like them a lot. Frankly, I am betting plus 350 for them to win the division. It's worth a sprinkle. I know they have a new coach this season, but he knows this team well, and I don't believe it will affect their overall performance. The only thing that will be interesting to see is if he lets Jameis off of his leash, or he continues the Sean Payton approach of playing ball control, ground and pound, careful, plodding along football. Offensively, last year they were 19th best in the league. They averaged 21 points per game. Their passing game last year was dead freaking last. Literally the worst passing game in football. Their running game was the 15th best. But man, they had a shit ton of injuries. Now they're all coming back healthy, and the Saints added Landry at wide receiver. These guys are going to roll out Jameis at quarterback, Landry, Thomas, Olave at wide receiver, Kamara at running back. They are loaded on offense, but they're going to sink or swim on whether Jameis puts up more touchdowns than interceptions. Defensively, New Orleans was the 4th best team in the league in keeping points low. They were 4th against the run. Their only weakness on D was passing, and I don't think that matters against this Atlanta team. Bottom line, I expect this offense to be much better than they were last year. I do expect them to be still a conservative ball control type offense, but I think we will see big plays this year, and I think they will average around 23.5 points per game. I also think their D will remain in the top 5, maybe even become a top 3 unit. The Saints are going to be a damn hard team to play against. As for the Atlanta Falcons, what do you do with this Falcons team? take all of their last year's numbers, throw them out. This is a completely different football team on both sides of the ball. Mariota will be behind center. Julio Jones is gone. Hooper is long gone. There's no Ridley. They do have Pitts at tight end. But man, they are bringing Cordell back as their starting running back. This team has problems everywhere. But I do think they will be slightly better than the worst team in the league. And I think they might upset a few teams along the way. Bottom line, right now, I'm staying away from this Falcons team for a while as we try to learn how they define themselves. As for this game, the only way I can play this game is the Saints and the under. I honestly think the Falcons will struggle to score more than 13 points. I could easily see a 2013 type football game that'll cover both Saints and the under. Take under 42.5 and New Orleans -5.5. Now let's take a look at the New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins. The line was 3 a couple of days ago. It's now 3.5 to the home team, Miami. The total has been bet down slightly. It is now 46.5. And let's get into it. Let's just take a look at the Patriots real quick. You know, I was shocked last year. I thought last year was going to be a down season for this team. They ended up with a 10-7 record. Mac Jones looks like he's going to be for real and a quality quarterback moving forward. However, I do think he regresses this year. I don't see the Patriots winning 9 games this year. I think they're going to be a bottom-feeding team. Honestly, think they're going to be lucky to go 7-10. I'll tell you, the one thing that blew me away about this team last year, they scored 27.2 points per game. They were the 6th highest scoring team in the league. They were 8th in rushing and 14th in passing. But when they got into the red zone, they scored. Like always, this team is rolling out a bunch of mediocre guys. I mean, come on. Their wide receiving core, please. Even with the addition of Parker, they're mediocre at best. Their tight end position, middle of the pack, even with Henry. They do have a good running game led by Harris, that's for sure. The 27.2 points they scored last year, this year, no chance they get anywhere near that number. I have them averaging around 23 points per game. As for their defense, this Patriots team was 2nd in the league behind Buffalo, allowing teams to score an average of 17.8 points per game. They dominated the passing game. They're 2nd in the league in stopping the pass, but they showed a weakness stopping the run. They were only the 22nd best team in the run. I think their D will be close to the same last year, limiting their opponents to field goals over TDs and really being very hard to play against. The bottom line for me is I'm looking to bet the Patriots under the total in most of the games they play, and I am looking to bet against this football team as I think they are overrated. Miami Dolphins. Well, last year they went 9-8. This year they plan on doing better than that and competing for a wild card berth. I don't know. It's going to be tough. They're going to be right around that number. Look, they picked up Tyreek Hill this offseason. Huge pickup. Now there's a lot expected from Tua in this passing game. Last year, this Miami team, 22nd in scoring out of 32 teams. They averaged a terrible 20.1 points per game. They were almost a TD less than New England every single game. Their running game was bordering on non-existent. Think of a eunuch having sex. And they were the third worst running team in all of football. Their passing game, 17th in the league, still bottom half. I do think we're going to see a better running game from this Dolphins team this year, and they will have a better passing game. With Hill stretching the field, if Tua can get him the ball, it's going to open up a bunch of empty space behind the linebackers in the slot. It's going to allow them to run the ball better, but Tua has to get Hill that ball, and they have to stretch the field. I see a big improvement coming in the Dolphins offense, and when push comes to shove, I think they will be better than the Patriots offense on a whole. The bottom line is I'm looking to wait and watch and see. I can't fully make heads or tails of how this team will be. I need to wait a couple of games before I can decide whether they're a play on or a play against team. As for this individual game, I like under the total of 46.5. And I do like Miami minus the 3.5. Cleveland versus Carolina. Oh, I mean, what are the odds that Baker would be playing his first game with his new team against his old team and then multiply that by 2? Because what are the odds Russell Wilson is playing his old team in his first game with his new team? This Cleveland team will be fascinating to watch. Let's start there. First off, they have the best running tandem in all of football with Hunt and Chubb coming out of the backfield. They also have a really good defense. Second, they have no pressure on them. Given that Watson's going to miss the first 11 games, this Cleveland team is coming into the league basically free rolling. There is no reason this team isn't as good as they were last year. And last year they went 8-9. So that's not saying much. I actually think we'll see a slight improvement in this Cleveland team. And I think if they could stay around 500 until Watson comes back, they might have a shot at the playoffs. It is important to note they were the 4th best team in the league in running last year. Baltimore, Indy, and Philly, only 3 teams better. This year, I believe they'll be in the top 2. Defensively, they were the 13th best team in the league, and they're going to be even harder to pass against this season. Their pass D last year, 5th in the league. They were 12th in stopping the run, which is mediocre, but I do think they will crack the top 10 this year. Bottom line, I'm looking to play on the Browns this year when they are a dog of 3 or more, and I'm looking to play unders in their games, especially when at home. Now we take a look at this Panther team. What to make of this team? Well, let's start with the fact that they were the single worst ATS team in the league last year. This team covered 5 of 17 games. They're going to be much better this year, and I think they will go around 8-9. Their new QB, Baker, is not great, but he's an upgrade from last year and a guy that really wants to win football games. They have a monster running back tandem. And those guys, both of them, McCaffrey and Hubbard, can catch the ball as well. They are rolling out some serious catchers. McCaffrey can catch. Hubbard can catch. They've got Anderson, Moore, Marshall Jr. at wide receiver. This is a much improved team from last year. Defensively, the Panthers were 22nd in the league last year in allowing points. Their pass D was the 4th best, however. And I expect their D to be even better than they were last year. Not because of any adjustments they've made, but because I actually think their offense will hold the ball longer, keeping their D off the field. Bottom line, I'm looking to bet on the Panthers this year, especially as a big dog. I also am looking to bet the unders in their games. What about this game? Well, Baker couldn't have scripted this any better. He gets to play his former team, who he has bad blood for, in his first game back with a healthy offense around him. With that said, it's tough to bet on the Panthers here, as Cleveland just has a much better roster and is rolling out such a good defense and running game. I want to bet the Panthers here, but I'm downgrading the play. It is a money line play on the Panthers. That is literally the only bet I could find in this game. I do slightly like the under as well, but I would prefer taking the Panthers on the money line. Currently, it is around minus 130. Pittsburgh's playing Cincinnati. The Steelers. Wow. I need to wait on this team to see what this Pittsburgh Steelers team will look like. Trubisky at quarterback. They've lost a lot of wide receivers. This team is rolling out a new quarterback, a new wide receiver group, a new tight end. Yep, they have Harris at running back, who should have a big year, and they have a really good O-line. But I need to see how this team defines themselves. Last year, this team was mediocre on offense at best. They averaged 20.2 points per game. Their passing game was 15th in the league. Their running game last year, 29th out of 32 teams. I expect their passing game to be worse this year and their running game to be better this year and substantially better. I see this team playing slow, methodical football, running 70% of the time on first downs, and I think their passing game will be short 8-yard underneath type passes. I think they end up putting up around the same points per game this season as they did last year, and I think they remain in the bottom half of the league offensively, but they do improve defensively. Okay, bottom line. I am looking to bet against the Steelers, and I'm looking to play unders in their games. I do not believe this is a playoff team, and I wouldn't be shocked if Tomlin has his first losing season ever as a head coach. Now let's look at the Cincinnati Bengals. As for the Bengals, this is simply a question of whether they regress or they stay the same. Many pundits think Baltimore will win this division, but on paper, I think the Bengals are the best team in this division and should compete to win this division. And I think they'll make the playoffs, either winning this division or as a wild card team. This Bengals team was 7th in the league in scoring last year, and they were 7th in their passing game. I think they improve on that. Their weakness last year was their running game, which sat at 23rd in the league. But I think they break into the top 15 this year. Look at this team. Mixon, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Burrows. That's a dynamic offense. As for their D, the Bengals were the 17th best team in the league, preventing points per game, but their run D was 5th best. Where their problem is on pass D, their pass defense, and as they were 24th in the league. And that's ultimately why I'm looking to take the Bengals games to go over the total, and I am looking to bet on the Bengals this year. As for this specific game, minus 6.5 for Cincinnati, total of 44. I am outright passing. Now let's move to Chicago against San Fran. Chicago +7. They're at home. They're playing San Francisco. The total is 41.5. Let's start by talking about Chicago. This team is brutal. Brutal. They went 6-11 last year. I don't think they do that again this year. I think they're even worse. This is not a good football team at all. They were 27th in the league last year in points scored. Their passing attack was even worse. They were the third worst football team in passing, but their running game was, well, in the top half of the league. Congratulations, Chicago. You got something in the top half. As for this season, I think Justin Fields will do better. I think this team will average 2 points more a game than they did last year, around 20 points per game, but I still think they're going to completely suck. They have a decent running back, an unproven QB, and a bunch of who the hell are these people at wide receiver and tight end? Their front office, they should be real proud of the talent they have not assembled around Fields. Good job, Chicago's front office. Their D last year, they weren't even better than their offense. 22nd in the league in allowing points. The only thing they did well was stop the run. They were 4th in the league in that. The bottom line is, this is not a good football team at all. They're a few years away from being anything. I'm looking to bet against the Bears and to bet as many unders as I can, depending, obviously, on competition, weather, and line. As for the 49ers, man, this team could be really good. Or they could be worse than they were last year. It literally will come down to how good Trey Lance is. They have the pieces, that is for sure. Their running game, 15th in the league last year. Their passing game, they could be great. They have 2 wide receivers that are good, one all-world in Debo. They have Kittle at tight end. Their O-line is one of the top units in the league. Even with their injuries and the QB carousel last year, this team still put up points. Their running game last year, 7th best in the league. Their passing game, the 12th best in the league. Their struggles last year were in the red zone. And that, I think, is where Trey Lance's mobility is going to be very helpful. I think they fixed that coming into the season. As for their defense last year, they were 9th in the league in points allowed, 7th in stopping the run, and 6th in stopping the pass. Those are great numbers. I do believe this team will slightly regress on D, but I believe they will be better on offense. The bottom line is, I'm looking to play on San Fran this year, and I'm also looking to play unders in this game, in all their games. As for this game, San Fran -7 is the play for me. I do lean on the under. I wouldn't be surprised if the score was 24-13. Philadelphia against Detroit. Before we get into that game, I want to remind everybody, take advantage of the Odd Couple promo. buy a 3-day all access from me, get Teddy for free. Buy a 3-day all access from Teddy, get me for free. You don't need a coupon code. It's over at the website. Take advantage of that and stay with us because Meghan Payton, Sean Payton's daughter, will be up in a little while to give out some prop bets. Again, sorry for the length of the show. As of next week, they'll all be a half an hour long. I'm just giving you more information this week. I'm not only talking about the individual games from this week, but I'm also talking about how I think we should bet and look at teams moving forward. Philadelphia -4 against Detroit, a total of 48.5, 49. This Philly team expects a lot of themselves coming into the season. They were 9-8 last year. They hope to be 10-7, 11-6 this year, and they believe they can win the division and make the playoffs. I don't. I think they could make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win the division. Offensively, this team was mediocre last year. They were 12th in the league in points scored, and they were terrible in passing. 25th worst team. There were only 7 teams worse than them passing the ball last year. However, their run game was unstoppable. They were the number 1 team in the league on the ground. They were literally 10 yards a game better than Dallas, who were the second best running team in football. How do they do this season? They are for sure going to regress offensively. That is for sure. I don't believe they will be a top 3 team this season, even in the run game. Passing-wise, especially with the addition of Brown, they should be better. So I feel they will regress on running, and they will be better in throwing. Another year under Jalen's belt, the strong wide receiver and tight end group, they should really help this team move the sticks. I think we see this team maybe break into the top 10 in points scored. They do plan on playing a fast-paced style, which must be noted, as I think this will really help the overs. As for their defense, last year they were 18th in the league in points allowed, 9th in stopping the run, and 11th in stopping the pass. They were not very good in the red zone either. I expect them to be slightly better this year, and I see them breaking into the top 15. Bottom line, guys, a lot of folks really like this team. I like them. I don't love them. They have a new coach, an unproven QB, a running game that was better than it should have been on paper, and a mediocre defense. I think they end up around the same as they did last year, 9-8 on the year, and I think Dallas wins the division. Side note, Teddy and I have a side bet on that exact thing. I have Dallas winning the division. Teddy took the Eagles. It's a $500 bet. The Detroit Lions. Man, this team was a covering machine last year. They made money for everybody. They covered 11 out of their 17 games. They were the 3rd best team in the league in making money. What's going to happen this year? Well, every year, it's like, is this the year Detroit gets off the snide? I don't know, man. No. We're going to have to wait and see. I don't have a full handle on how good or bad this Detroit team is going to be. I do think they will be better than last year. And last year, they only won 3 games. I think they have a chance of winning 6 this year, making them probably what will be the most improved team in all of football. Look, guys, they have talent on this team. Goff at QB, Swift at running back, Brown, Clark, and Reynolds at wide receiver. This offense on paper is better than most would think. Plus, they have one of the best young tight ends in the game. They are lacking a quality O-line, but they should do around the same offensively as they did last season, if not better. Defensively, this team was a nightmare. They allowed 27.5 points per game. That's, to give you perspective, 10 points per game worse than Buffalo. And Buffalo being the number 1 team. They were the 2nd worst team in points per game. Stopping the run, they were 28th out of 32. Stopping the pass, 24th. Man, I don't expect them to improve much on D, that's for sure. But I do expect them to improve on offense. Bottom line, I'm looking to play on the Lions, especially as a big dog, and I'm looking to take their games over the total. In this game, I'm just going to bottom line this. I like the over. The Eagles want to play fast, and although they will run the ball a lot, it will set up some big play action passes and some potential quick scores. They are also playing a Lions team that were and still are just dreadful on defense and should allow at least 28 points. I think the Lions score. I think the Eagles score. I see this as a 28-24 type football game. Take over the total. Now we look at Indianapolis against Houston, and a lot of money has come in on Houston of late. They were +8 yesterday. Today, Wednesday, while we're taping the show, they are now +7. The line in this Houston game has dropped to 45.5. Let's take a look at Indianapolis. This team is the odds-on favorite to win the division, and they could make a lot of noise. Last year with Wentz behind center, this team was 9th best in the league in scoring. Their running game, second best team in all of football. Their passing game, however, was a terrible 26. How much better will Ryan be than Wentz? I don't have a clue. That is a question that I am excited to see answer. Look, they have to be better than 26th best in the air. So I am expecting a better passing offense from the Colts. And I wouldn't be surprised if they break into, the number one spot in running the ball this season. On the defensive side of the ball, Indy was the 11th best team in points allowed, the 19th best team in stopping the pass, and the 11th best team in stopping the run. I think they're going to be around the same this year. Bottom line, I just don't know how good Ryan will be, and this is crucial in deciding how to bet this team. As of now, I plan on staying away from the Colts games and waiting and learning as the season progresses. I do think they will fight it out with the Titans for the division. As for the Texans, this is a bet-on team this year. Flat out. 4-13 last year win-loss, 8-9 ATS. Last year, they were the third worst team in points scored, the 28th worst team in yards in the air, and literally the worst running team in the league. However, Mills looks better coming into this year, and they've upgraded their wide receiving core. They also have a veteran coach, Lovie Smith, who should get the best out of them. I think we see this team move into the top 25 in scoring and the top 20 in passing, but I expect them to stay in the bottom 5 in running. On the defensive side of the ball, man, there were only 5 teams worse than them in points allowed. They were the 9th worst team stopping the pass, the 2nd worst team in stopping the run. I think they end up around the same this year. Their defense stinks. I'm looking to play them to the under all year. Even though their defense stinks, I think we'll see their offense control the ball a little more. And I think we're going to see high totals in their games. So I will be looking to play them under. And I am looking to play on the Texans. In this game, I'm going to take Houston plus the 7. Too many points for Matt Ryan. And I think the Colts will be slightly out of sync in their first game. Now we move to Jacksonville and Washington. Jacksonville comes into the season in dire need of finding some offense. Last year, they averaged 14.9 points a game. They were dead last. This team did not go over 30 points once. They didn't go over 30 points once. There were teams in the league, Tampa Bay, that averaged 30 points a game. 17 games, they didn't go over 30 points once. And what did they do to improve their offense this season? Nothing. Marvin Jones and Christian Kirk will be their 1-2 wide receivers. Oi. Okay, they added Zay Jones. Why am I even talking about Zay Jones? Evan Ingram is now their starting tight end. Why am I discussing this? Their QB, Trevor Lawrence, entering his second year in the league. There is no real reason to suggest he's going to enter the rarefied air of Josh Allen, Joe Burrows, Herbert, or Mahomes. I still see this team struggling to score, even with a really good running game. This is a bad football team. Their D last year, they were ranked 30th out of 32 teams. 30th out of 32 teams. This season, they came in with a slightly new D, picking up a new starting linebacker, 2 new cornerbacks, and a defensive tackle and defensive end. But who the hell are these guys? I expect their D to improve, but come on, they're going to remain still firmly planted in the bottom of the league. Bottom line, the Jags are going to suck this year again. and really should be a bet against team anytime they're getting 3 or less points. As for the Washington Commanders, playoff considerations in the cards for this team. They think they're a lot better than they probably are. This team comes into the 2022 season feeling pretty damn good about themselves. On offense, this team struggled last year. They averaged under 20 points per game. They were the 24th best team in the league in points per game. This season, they added Carson Wentz, and I honestly don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing. I think we see a slightly better offense this year from Washington, but I'm not high on this Washington team. On D, they stink. They allowed 25.5 points per game. There were 6 teams worse than them in football on defense, allowing points per game. Their biggest problem is stopping the passing attack. There were only 3 teams worse than them stopping the pass in the whole league. And their big D signing this offseason? Who? Anyway, bottom line, I expect this team to compete in the division. I expect them to play low-scoring games, especially when the weather changes, and I expect them to be around 8-9 on the year. In this individual game, here we have a team with playoff aspirations playing at home in week 1 against a bottom 5 team in football. Not only that, but Washington's weakness, stopping the pass, is something the Jags will struggle to capitalize on. Washington has won this matchup the last 3 times, and 2 out of 3 went under. Only 1 went over, and that was a 41-10 destruction by Washington. I like Washington minus the 3, and I like under the total of 44 points. Just a reminder, Meghan Payton coming up soon. Give out some prop bets. And also, I know this show is long. It will not be as long moving forward. Kansas City minus 4.5. Now it's 6 against Arizona. The Chiefs last year, 12-5 win-loss record, but they did not get it done on the money. They were only 8-9 ATS. They were 10-7 to the over. How good will this Kansas City team be this season? Everyone is talking about regression. They lost Hill. The Raiders improved. Denver improved. The Chargers improved. I love this Chiefs team. I actually think losing Hill will be a good thing for this team. Last year, this team scored the 4th most points in the league. They were the 4th best passing team in the league and the 16th best running team. And keep in mind, Hilaire was injured half the year. This year, I think they have a better wide receiving core. Hardman, Scantling, and Juju. That is pretty damn good. Kelce, as I call him, still the tight end and still young enough to be incredible. And they're rolling out Hilaire and McKinnon. I think they have a good running back tandem as well. This offense is going to be scary. And keep in mind, last year, Mahomes had some very bad games. He was inconsistent, and I think we're going to see a much better Mahomes this year as well. As for their D, they are better than most people think. Last year, they were 8th best in the league in keeping opponents from scoring, 21st best in stopping the run, and 27th best in stopping the pass. So think about that, guys. 21st best in stopping the run, 27th best in stopping the pass, but 8th best in stopping points, the only thing that actually does matter. This team was lights out defensively in the red zone. Now they have a healthy Jones. They added Clark. This team will be even better. Bottom line, I love that people think without Hill, the Chiefs won't be as good. Finally, we might get some good value on betting the Chiefs. I'm all over this team again this season. I think they end up around the same record. And I think, again, they end off the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos and win their division. I'll be looking to bet the Chiefs and the over. As for the Arizona Cardinals, Arizona had an 11-6 record last year. Yet the pundits think this team is not going to be good again. I don't get it. The problem for them has always been the end of the season. Arizona comes out of the gate flying, then they lose their last 4 or 5 games. And what that does ultimately is puts a bad taste in everyone's mouth as we enter the new season. But let's look at this team. Last year, 11th in points scored, 10th in yards gained, 10th in rushing. 10th in yards gained in the air, and 10th in rushing. I think they're going to even be better than that this year. And when Hopkins comes back, they are freaking loaded. Hopkins, Green, and Brown, their starting wide receivers. Wow. Ertz at tight end. Connor and Williams as their running backs. Add a dynamic Murray to the mix. This is going to be a top 5 offense, guys. On D last year, they were 10th in points allowed. And I think they're going to be roughly around the same this year. Their biggest weakness last year was stopping the run. Bottom line, I'm looking to bet on the Cards and take the over. Most of their games will be in the mid-50s, making the over tough to bet. But if you can get them against a bad offensive team and a total around 47, I will be pounding the over. I'm also looking to take the Cards, especially if they're getting 3 or more points against a division opponent. In this game, I am passing completely. But I do want to say that if Kansas City is down at the half, I will be betting them in the second half. And if the score in the half is 24 points or less, I will be betting the over in that game. Let's move to the Raiders and the Chargers. Raiders, man, let me start by saying both teams have improved a ton this year. We got the Raiders at +3 in this week. The total is 52. So much is expected from both teams this year. Let's start with the Raiders. First off, I love Josh McDaniels. I think his upcoming head coaching career will end up awesome. What a division they find themselves in, and they could easily end up the best in the division or the worst. Likely not the best. I predict that they will be third. The division order for me will be Kansas City, Chargers, Denver, Raiders, and then Denver last. But honest to God, I could see that switch at any time. All 4 teams are really, really, really good. These division matchups are literally going to be the difference on whether a team makes or doesn't make the playoffs. Last year, this Raiders team was 15th in the league in offense. They averaged 22 points a game. This year, I expect them to be in the top 10. They added Devontae Adams at wide receiver. They're bringing back Jacobs at running back, Waller at tight end. They've got Renfro still. This team is loaded in talent, but it means nothing if their O-line doesn't get better, and that's what ultimately we're going to have to see this year. The biggest issue for this team was consistency on offense. Over a 3-game stretch last year, the Raiders put up 13 against Cincinnati, 36 against Dallas, and then 9 against Kansas City. How do you bet a team like that? How do you bet on them? How do you bet against them? I find myself looking to take their games over the total this year, but their inconsistency is going to keep me off of betting on or against a lot of their games. The bottom line, I'll be waiting to make a real judgment on this team, but I do think they are better than I do not think they are better than Kansas City or the Chargers. I do absolutely love their defense, their rush game this year. That is for sure. Adding Jones, Perryman, now with Jones and Crosby, they got a legit pass rush, 2 world-class defenders. As for the LA Chargers, I love this football team. I think they'll be one of the best teams in football. I think they will be one of the 4 teams left when the AFC get down to 4. This team lost a few games last year and didn't make the playoffs because their coach kept going for it on 4th down, even from their side of the field, and it was not successful. Now, this is a straight math equation. It's around 50%. Assuming and hoping he continues with the strategy of going for it on 4th down, I expect the math to work itself out, and they will be on the right side of those plays this season. They are loaded with talent, the Chargers. They have one of the best young quarterbacks in football, a top 10 wide receiving core, but they do have a middle-of-the-pack running game. They have a solid O-line, and I believe this team is a bet-on team moving forward. As for their D, last year they were brutal. They were 29th in the league in points allowed, and their rush D was the 3rd worst in all of football. This year they've added 5 new starting D guys, including Mack, and it'll make a huge difference. They're going to roll out Bosa and Mack. They might have the best edge linebackers in all of football. They are going to be much improved on D. Bottom line, this is a team that has improved on offense and defense, and I expect to be betting on this team throughout the year. I also think they will play to the over all year. As for this game, huge game for both teams right off the bat. This entire division will come down to one or two extra wins, and these in-division games are going to make the difference. I think both teams are much improved since last year, but I'm way higher on the Chargers. I'm looking to take the Chargers -3 and over the total of 52 points. Now let's look at the Green Bay Packers, -1.5 against Minnesota, a total of 47. Green Bay last year, a 13-4 win-loss record. Vikings, 8-9. Let's start with the Packers. The Packers last year were the second best team making money in the entire league. They covered 12 out of 17 games. That is incredible. Only Dallas did better. They covered 13 out of 17 games. The team offensively was the 10th best scoring team in the league. They had the 8th best passing game, but their running game was 18th best. I think they will be worse this year. They will drop from 10th best scoring team to the middle of the pack around 15. Their passing game will fall out of the top 10, but I do think their running game will be slightly better. Losing Devontae Adams is a big deal, but they do have a decent wide receiving core with Cobb, Watkins, and Lazard. They are not world-class by any stretch, but they're good and they're deep. They obviously have a really good QB in Rodgers, and they have a really good running back. With that said, it is their D that is their biggest issue. Last year, they were 14th in the league allowing points scored, 11th in stopping the run, and 10th in stopping the pass. Their red zone D last year, bottom half of the league. And keep in mind, they played Chicago twice and Detroit twice. Their D numbers should have been better. The bottom line is I'm not high on this Green Bay team right now and actually think Minnesota will win the division. I bet Minnesota at +375 to win the division. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if this team goes from 13-4 to 9-8. The Vikings, however, I think the opposite. I think Minnesota is going to be better than most people think this year. They have a new coach who doesn't hate on Kirk, a new system, and are absolutely freaking loaded with playmakers on offense. Last year, this Minnesota team was 14th in the league in points, 11th in their passing game, and 17th in their running game. This year, they're going to be a top 10 offense and potentially a top 5 offense with an electric passing game. Cook, Jefferson, Thielen, and Kirk Cousins, one of the best play-action passers in the game, and their O-line is pretty good. Their D, however, last year was freaking terrible. They were 24th in the league in points allowed. Their run D was 26th best out of 32, and their pass D, there were only 4 teams in the league worse than them on pass D. They're basically one of the worst defenses in all of football, and I don't think much has improved. Bottom line, I'm looking to play overs in these games. I'm also looking to play on Minnesota, especially if they're playing good teams and find themselves as a dog. I also am betting Minnesota, as I said, to win the division. In this particular game, I like over the total of 46. I expect this game to be high scoring, to say the least. I was shocked that the number wasn't 49. I feel like we can easily get a 31-28 football game. And I also like Minnesota plus the points, whether it's 2, 1, 1.5. I think they win this game outright. Now we move to the Giants in Tennessee. Giants 4-13 last year. Tennessee 12-5 last year. A lot of people think the Giants will increase their win-loss record by a couple, going around 6-11, 7-10. And a lot of people think Tennessee is going to be worse, around 9-8, 10-7 if they're lucky. Last year they were 12-5. Let's talk about the Giants first. Man, this team, every year it's the same thing. Just one disaster year after another. Daniel Jones is on the hot seat without a long-term contract, and this is a make-or-break season for him. Offensively, the Giants scored a Jaguars terrible 15.2 points per game, second worst in the league. They are coming into the season much healthier. I agree. Barkley's ready to go. They have a decent wide receiver core. I think we will get a much better offensive performance from them this year, and they've also added a great offensive mind as a coach and new O-linemen. Last year, their offense, as I said, second worst in the league. They will be around 20th when it's all said and done. Defensively, they again found themselves in the bottom half of the league, allowing teams to score an average of 24.5 points per game. They have definitely improved their D coming into this year, but again, it's not a substantial improvement, and I think they remain in the bottom half of the league. Bottom line, I'm looking to bet on the Giants this year, and I'm looking to play on the unders in their game. As for the Tennessee Titans, this is a team that just keeps winning regardless of what the pundits say. Everybody thinks they're going to lose the division to Indy this year. Everybody thinks they're going to regress. It's the same thing every single year. I am not one of those people. Even though everyone sees this team as a running team, they put up close to 25 points per game last year, 15th in the league. With Henry coming out of the backfield, the Titans' play-action pass game, one of the best in all of football. Even without Brown, their wide receiver core is acceptable, and they have added Woods and Burks. From a defensive standpoint, 2 seasons ago, they stunk. Last year, they were 6th best in the league in points allowed. 6th best. Plus, they've added 2 solid pickups on D and Autry and Cunningham. I expect their D to be roughly the same as last year. Bottom line, a lot of folks are writing this team off. I'm not. I wouldn't be so quick to do that. They have the best running back in football, a rock-solid world-class coach, a new-look wide receiver core, and an even better defense than last year. This game, I'm just going to bottom line it. I'm passing on the side, but I do like under the total of 44 points. Now we move to the Sunday night game, Tampa Bay versus Dallas. Tampa Bay last year, 13-4, 9-8 ATS. Cowboys last year, 12-5, 13-4 ATS. Let's start with the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay will be as good or as bad as Tom Brady's right arm is. And frankly, Tom has been fighting with his wife of late. I'm guessing his right arm is quite tired. Well, who the hell knows? I thought that was a decent joke. Last year, this team was amazing on offense. They put up 30.1 points per game. They were the second best in the league behind Dallas. Their passing game, by far the best in the league. Their running game, however, a disaster. They were 26th best in all of football. Yikes. I'm positive this team will be worse offensively than last year. I mean, substantially worse. I am not that high on this Tampa Bay team. They still have a great wide receiving core. Evans, Godwin, Cage. A good tight end in Brait. A decent running back in Fournette. I do believe missing Gronk will be big, and I expect Evans to start declining. As for Tampa Tom, who knows? But I believe he will struggle to stretch the field and will be staring at his worst season ever. Keep in mind, that's still better than most other quarterbacks' best seasons ever. I'm not as high on the offense as some this year. As for their D, they were the 5th best team last year in points allowed. Almost impossible to run against them, but their pass defense is their weakness. They were 21st best in pass D, and I think their D will be almost exactly the same as they were last year. Bottom line, this is not a 13-4 team this year, and although I think they might win the division, keep in mind, I prefer New Orleans at the value that New Orleans is to win that division. I'm not giving them more than 11 wins this season. When Tom starts to regress, it will be fast and will likely be in this season. I am looking to bet against the Bucs this year, and as for the totals, I have to wait and see how their offense looks. The Cowboys, they're the team to beat in the NFC East, period. I don't care what Teddy says or all these people talk about Philadelphia. This was the number 1 scoring team in football last year. The number 2 passing team in football last year. The number 9th running team in football last year. Sure, they lost to Murray, but I don't think that'll be a massive loss. They're still rolling out Gallup and Lamb. They have a good tight end and one of the best running tandems in football. They also have an electric QB who can throw short or long and is very mobile. I think this team will remain in the top 3 in the league in scoring, Passing, they'll be a top 5 team, and on the ground. Their D was 7th best in football last year. 7th best. Nobody saw that coming, allowing under 21 points per game. They were 20th in stopping the pass and 16th in stopping the run, but they were one of the best teams in the league defensively in the red zone. I think their D will be way better than they were last year. Both pass yards and rush yards are allowed, and around the same last year in points allowed. They have Lawrence, Parsons, Van Der Esch, Barr, Brown. Their front 7 is exceptional. Why shouldn't this team be as good as they were last year? I'm very high on this team. I think they can get to a Super Bowl. Believe it or not. Why not? I plan on looking to bet on the Cowboys as much as possible. In this Sunday night game, I'm on Dallas plus the points and over the total. Let's talk Monday Night Football, guys. Denver -6.5 against Seattle. 44.5 is the total. I think this game will go to 7. If you plan on betting Denver, bet them now. Let's start with this Denver team. It's a whole new look. Okay, they didn't revamp the roster. They just added Wilson, but that is a massive add. Biggest acquisition of the year. Last year, this Denver team was a stone cold under team. They went under 5. They went over only 5 out of 17 games. They were 12-5 to the under. I don't think we're going to see that this year. There is really no reason to look at their offensive numbers last year, not with Wilson being added to the team this year. But I do want to point out that this team has a lot of offensive talent. Judy, Sutton, Wilson, Williams, Gordon. These are all weapons, and they have a really good O-line. The issue for me in betting Denver games is Wilson the same player as he's always been? Man, if you go through Wilson's career, one game will go out and put up a field goal. The next game, 48 points. He is definitely shown to be inconsistent. With that said, maybe it was Pete Carroll. He really never let Wilson off the leash. I'm curious to see if Denver lets Wilson off the leash or if they continue with the slow-paced game. Last season, even after Von Miller left, they were still one of the best defensive units in football. They were 3rd in keeping points off the board, 8th against the pass, 15th against the run. I do believe this D will be a little worse this season, but not a ton worse, and I think they remain in the top 10. Bottom line, I need to wait and see what identity this team has. I do believe that given how low scoring their game was last season, we might see some real value on the overs. As for the Seahawks, take everything from last year, throw it out the window. Like Denver and a few other teams like the Falcons, it's just pointless to look at last year. This is a whole new team led by Geno frickin' Smith on offense. They have no Wagner on D to call the formations. I think this might be the worst team in all of football this coming season. Defensively, they were 11th in the league last year in preventing points. However, they were 17th in stopping the run and the second worst team in football stopping the pass. They were awesome in the red zone, however, but I don't think that'll continue. Bottom line, I'm looking to see what happens over the next few weeks, but I plan on betting against Seattle and taking the unders. In this game, I'll make it easy. Like Baker playing the Browns, we have Wilson playing the Seahawks in his first game with a new team. What are the odds of that happening, and how perfect from a drama perspective? Right now, the line is -6.5. If it stays that way, I am taking the Broncos minus the 6.5. Now we got Meghan Markle joining us. She's got some prop bets for you. Meghan, the mic is yours.
Thanks, Prez, and happy NFL Week 1. The wait is over. I'm finally ready to give you guys prop bets, and I have 3 pretty good ones for you. One might be a little anti-Bills, but bear with me. Hang on. We'll get into it. My first prop bet, Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott to have over 12.5 rushing attempts in the last 7 out of 10 games where the line was at 12.5. The over has hit. Ezekiel Elliott rushed for an average of 14 attempts in 2021. The average line was at 15. So why are we seeing it at 12.5? I'll tell you why. Because of a man named Tony Pollard. RB1, RB2, still to be determined. And in fact, head coach Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones don't seem to be on the same page with that. Jerry Jones said in camp, Ezekiel Elliott's our feature. He's going to be our feature. But then Mike McCarthy said, well, they're both go tandem. They're both RB1s. So what does that mean? It means we can expect to see Tony Pollard's game increase. His reps are going to increase. He was only on the field 30% of the offensive snaps in 2021. That will go up. Having said that, I don't think it's going to be in week 1. So right now, it's Jerry's world. I'm trusting that Ezekiel Elliott is that feature and that we're going to see the overhit on Ezekiel Elliott, 12.5 rushing attempts. Number 2, here we go. We are moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders, and we are looking at Derek Carr. Over 4.5 rushing yards for Derek Carr. Again, 7 of the last 10 times the line has been set at 4.5, the over has hit. Derek Carr averaged 5.4 rushing yards in 2021. And honestly, Prez, we are not giving enough credit to Derek Carr's ability to move on his feet. If you want more proof, go look at the wild card game against the Bengals. He had 20 rushing yards. They may have lost that game, but Derek Carr can move. He's going to need to move too, because that offensive line right now is just a wreck. We talk about the offensive weapons that the Raiders did during this offseason. It's great, but they did not improve the offensive line. And because they didn't improve the offensive line, Derek Carr is going to be forced to scramble more. There's going to be more plays outside of the pocket, and that is why I am taking the over on 4.5 rushing yards for Derek Carr. Number 3, I told you to bear with me. I told you I was going to be a little anti-Bills here. And it's not that I'm being anti-Bills per se. It's that I'm being a little bit more pro Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford to have no interceptions in week 1 against the Bills. Why? Because Matthew Stafford's so amazing? Well, yes, but also because Matthew Stafford has been dealing with that elbow injury. Now, head coach Sean McVay says it's nothing to worry about. Matthew Stafford's good. He's going to be back ready to go in week 1. I do think that's true. Having said that, McVay's going to call a more conservative game. They're going to focus more on the run game and not maybe do those risky plays, those risky throws for Stafford to injure himself more. It's week 1. This game's important and there's a lot of hype with it, but Sean McVay is going to protect Matthew Stafford. I do not see the risky plays happening. Therefore, I do not see any interceptions happening for Matthew Stafford. So to recap, here are the 3 prop bets you have to take for week 1. That is Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott over 12.5 rushing attempts. Number 2, Raiders quarterback Derek Carr over 4.5 rushing yards. And Matthew Stafford to have no interceptions in week 1 against the Bills. For more prop bets, make sure you are watching Wager Talk. I'm going to give you my Meghan Payton's plays and picks every single week. Thank you, Prez, and let's have a great week 1.
Okay, guys, I got some best bets to give out and a teaser as well. I just want to apologize for the length of the show again. We will get the shows down to half an hour moving forward. This show is probably over an hour long. My apologies, but hopefully you found it insightful and got a lot of great information. Please remember that anybody buying my all-access NFL package will receive sides and totals on every single game on the board. You will be provided with a similar concept to what the NFL Presidential Address is verbally, but there will be more information provided to you. Plus, I have rated all the plays from 1% all the way up to 5%. As for your best bets on this show, we are going with New Orleans and Atlanta under 42. New England and Miami, we're taking Miami minus 3 points, and Jacksonville and Washington under the total of 44. As for my show teaser bet, we are going with Minnesota plus 8 and San Fran minus 1. As for my survivor play, I truly haven't done my research for that yet. I actually plan on doing it right after the show, so I have nothing for you survivor-wise. I hope you enjoyed the first NFL Presidential Address of the year. Make sure to buy the Odd Couple promotion. It is over on Sunday. Buy a 3-day all access from me, get Teddy for free, or vice versa. Incredible promotion. Thank you all for watching the show. We will see you next Thursday. Namaste.